The band was still playing when I walked out of my own anniversary party and didn't look back. Nobody noticed I'd left for almost 20 minutes. That should tell you everything about the state of my marriage before I even tell you what she said to me that night. Let me take you back to earlier that evening, before any of this made sense. My name is Brian Foster. My wife Amanda and I had been married for 10 years, and that Saturday night, we were celebrating at a private event space in Austin, Texas, surrounded by nearly 60 of our closest friends and family. 10 years felt like something worth doing properly. String lights, a live band, a photo booth, the whole thing. I'd spent 3 months planning it, mostly in secret, because I wanted it to feel like a gift. I'd booked a converted warehouse near the river, the kind of place Amanda had once pointed at and said, half joking, "I'd love to get married here, if we ever did it again." I remembered that. I remembered almost everything she'd ever said in passing, the small offhand wishes people forget they've even spoken out loud. I hired the same band that played our actual wedding. I ordered the same flowers she'd carried down the aisle a decade earlier. None of it was for show. I wanted her to walk into that room and feel, for one night, completely chosen. Amanda and I had always had one difference between us that I used to think was small. I believed a marriage runs on attention, showing up for each other, especially in front of other people. Amanda believed a marriage runs on independence, that needing your partner's attention at a party made you clingy, a word she used more than once, usually with a laugh that was supposed to soften it but never really did. 2 years earlier, at a mutual friend's wedding, she'd spent almost the entire reception dancing with a man from her college days, laughing in that easy, unguarded way she almost never laughed with me anymore. I'd waited until we were in the car, engine off, before I said anything. I'm not asking you to stand next to me all night. I'm asking you not to make me feel invisible at events where we're supposed to be a couple. She'd rolled her eyes and turned to look out the passenger window. You're overreacting, Brian. Dancing isn't cheating. I remember thinking, even then, that she'd answered a question I hadn't asked. I never said the word cheating. She was the one who reached for it, like she already knew exactly which door I was standing near and wanted to slam it shut before I could look inside. I let it go. I told myself it was a one-time thing, a wedding, an open bar, an old friend. Everyone gets a pass now and then. It wasn't a one-time thing. At our own anniversary party, our anniversary, Amanda spent nearly the entire night on the dance floor with a man named Tyler, someone from her gym I'd met exactly twice. Slow songs included. I watched her rest her head against his shoulder during the same song we'd danced to at our wedding, a song I'd specifically asked the band to save for us. I sat at our table, alone, my father refilling my water glass without saying anything, watching my own wife slow dance with another man in front of my parents, her parents, and everyone we knew, on the one night that was supposed to be about us. I didn't make a scene. I got up quietly, found my sister Kelly near the bar, and asked her to keep an eye on things and make some excuse if anyone asked where I'd gone. Then I stepped outside into the parking lot for air. The band's music was muffled through the warehouse walls, and I stood there for 20 minutes under a string of patio lights I'd hung myself 2 days earlier, and that's when I decided something had to change. Not through anger, but through clarity. I didn't confront Amanda that night. I drove home separately, telling her I had a headache, and I spent the next 2 weeks doing something I should have done 2 years earlier. Paying attention, quietly, to the pattern instead of the moments. I started noticing how often Tyler's name came up in casual conversation, always slipped in sideways, always followed by some line about how he's just really easy to talk to. I noticed how Amanda had started going to the gym at hours that didn't match her usual schedule, sometimes twice in one evening, coming home with her hair still damp and her phone locked face down on the counter, a habit she'd never had before. I didn't snoop through her phone. I didn't need to. I simply asked our mutual friend Sarah, gently, over coffee one morning, if she'd noticed anything at the gym's group classes. Sarah hesitated long enough that I already knew the answer before she gave it, then admitted Amanda and Tyler had been getting coffee after sessions for months. Something Amanda had never once mentioned to me, not even in passing, not even the way she used to tell me about every small detail of her day. During those same 2 weeks, I leaned on something that had nothing to do with Amanda at all. My father, who had recently been diagnosed with early-stage Parkinson's. He'd been trying to hide the tremor in his left hand for months, waving it off as nothing, and it took my mother finally sitting him down for him to admit it needed real attention. I started driving him to his physical therapy appointments twice a week, something I'd been too busy to prioritize before, always telling myself I'd start next month. Sitting in that waiting room with him, watching him fight quietly for something as simple as steady hands, put my own situation into a strange kind of focus. Here was a man fighting for control over his own body without a single complaint, while I'd spent 2 years quietly negotiating for a fraction of my wife's attention and calling it patience. I realized I'd been fighting quietly too for years, for a marriage that only one of us seemed to be showing up for. My father never once asked me why I looked so distracted those weeks. He just squeezed my shoulder once, in the parking lot, like he already knew. 2 weeks after the party, I finally asked Amanda directly, at our kitchen table, why she'd danced with Tyler all night while I sat alone at our own anniversary. She didn't even look guilty. She looked annoyed, setting down her coffee mug a little too hard. "Brian, it was one night. You're being dramatic again. You danced with him for 3 hours, I said. At our anniversary. During our song." She sighed, the same sigh she'd given me in the car 2 years earlier. "He's fun to be around. You've gotten so serious lately. Is that such a crime?" That word, fun, landed harder than anything else she could have said. I slid my phone across the table, opened to a text Sarah had shown me the week before, one Amanda had sent her. "Tyler gets me in a way Brian stopped trying to a long time ago." Amanda's face went pale, the annoyance draining out of it all at once. "Where did you? You didn't even bother hiding it," I said quietly. "You just assumed I'd never ask." She reached for the phone like she wanted to take it back, then stopped herself, her hand hovering in the air between us. She sat back, silent for a long moment, staring at the phone screen like it belonged to a stranger, and then something in her finally cracked. "I didn't think it counted as anything real," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "I told myself I hadn't actually done anything wrong, because we never even kissed. I thought that made it safe somehow. It was never about whether it was real," I said. "It was that you let me sit alone at our own anniversary and made me feel crazy for noticing." 6 months later, Amanda and I finalized our divorce. She moved into a place near her sister, and the last I heard, things with Tyler fizzled out almost as fast as they started. Apparently, fun doesn't hold up once it has to survive real life, without a party, without an audience, without someone else quietly making room for it. My father finished his physical therapy program that same spring, steadier on his feet than he'd been in over a year, and I still drive him to his follow-up appointments every month, a ritual that became more meaningful to me than almost anything from my old marriage. He never brings up Amanda. He just talks about the Astros game on the radio, and somehow that's exactly what I need on those drives. I go to dinner with Kelly and my parents now most Sundays, and for the first time in years, I don't spend those evenings quietly checking if anyone notices I'm there. Last month at Kelly's birthday dinner, I actually danced, badly, with my mother, in her kitchen, to a song neither of us knew the words to, and it didn't feel like something I had to earn. Some people will only ever notice you once you finally stop waiting for them to.